Hello again, everybody. Scott Casper, Takedown. We continue our coverage of the sport. This one brought to you by Nike Wrestling. Look for them online, Nike Wrestling. Let's head down to Missouri. We're going to talk to David Mirikitani. You know, of course, the history of one of the legends of the sport, Ron Mirikitani. Well, this is his son, David Mirikitani, joins us now. David, how are you?
Good, Scott. How you doing?
Good. I'm going to need you to talk louder for me because I know you're a little further from your camera. But coming up, the second annual Randy Couture charity event will hit St. Louis. It's called the Missouri Border Brawl. Tell us about it.
Correct. The Missouri Border Brawl is going to be held on March 17th, and it's really sort of a combination of the first event that Randy and I had worked on together to raise money for veterans, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about that, and also combine it with the ideas of the East-West St. Louis all-metro meet that my dad has run for about 35 years here in St. Louis.
Okay, so it's to benefit the Extreme Couture GI Foundation and the Beat the Streets LA organization. At the door, tickets are an additional $5, so it's in your best interest, folks. And I understand over 400 tickets have already been sold, so you don't want to pay the additional $5 at the door. Maybe you do, but it's going to be held at St. Louis's Union Station, and it's kind of a unique opportunity to take an advanced look at the facilities that'll be hosting the NCAA Fan Fest later that week. David,
Correct.
how did all this come together?
Really just kind of being lucky and knowing the right people. A friend of mine is the manager at the hotel, and they changed ownership, so that helped. Chris Roseman, who I know you're good friends with from the Sports Commission, they're doing a great job here in St. Louis putting together the 8 days of wrestling, the D2s, and then a couple of our events, and then the D1s, and then the clinic or the tournament following that on the Sunday. And we spoke, and I kind of had this idea from working with my dad all those years, and he's been a great partner. He's done a great job, with all the logistics. And we spoke with somebody last week from New York who's running Fan Fest, and they're going to make sure that our event is first class, using the same stage that the NCAA final mat's going to be on. So the kids that wrestle in this, hopefully it'll be a lot of the guys we see in the next 5 years. That'll be on the podium on Saturday night.
You
Or,
bet. So it's the best senior high school wrestlers from the state of Missouri as they face the best senior high school wrestlers from the 8 bordering states. The 8 bordering states include Arkansas, Iowa, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, is it Nebraska?
correct.
Oklahoma, and Tennessee. So
Correct.
all of those states are going to be competing. And again, this is just another excuse, as far as I'm concerned, to help a great cause, or at least a couple of them. It's charity fundraiser All-Star Wrestling Meet, March 17th at the Union Station Hotel, and right there in the what we call the Union Station Mall. Okay, so it's going to be easy to get to. Some great sponsors are a part of this, including the man himself, Randy the Natural Couture. What's your tie-in with Randy?
Uh, well, it really goes back to when my dad and he were on the USA Executive Board together. And probably about 6, 7 years ago, Randy came down and did a clinic and a seminar fundraiser for Merrimack because we had to raise so much money back then. That's a whole nother story, but he was great, came down. And then 2 years ago, we partnered up. There was a family here in St. Louis that lost a young man to post-traumatic stress disorder. They wanted to run a charity MMA fight in the young man's honor, and we partnered up with Randy's 501c3 and ran it down.
So I understand a lot of the what we call the starting range tickets are sold out. So it pushes people to what I think are some of the great seats: the 25s, the 20s, the 15s. Tickets are available at cagetix.com. Again, that's cagetix.com. Will there be beverages and food served?
There will be, yeah. We've got some sponsors there that night, so we'll have Italian food from the Hill. So people are coming in from out of town. It's a chance to get that. And then we'll have adult and non-adult beverages.
Nice. Okay, so this is going to be an opportunity for you to see some great wrestling too. And I'd like, David,
Right.
if you can, tell us some of the guys that are at least registered in advance to compete in the event, if you can.
Well, Joe Smith, I was able to go down to the Stampede and talk to like Joe and Gabe, Brock, and then through my relationship with Mike Powell, Larry Early. Those guys are coming in. From Missouri, we're expecting to get Keyshawn Hayes and Jaden Clayton and Colston DeBlasi. I'm just trying to look at my list here, make sure I don't forget anybody. There's so many good kids. Connor Flynn, who's having a great year, and actually beat Freddie Stroker, I think, a year ago at the Southern Plains. So there's going to be some great matchups. I mean, certainly the Missouri team, anytime you pick one state and match them up against 8, it's tough to say they're going to be the favorite. But I think there's going to be a lot of really competitive matches. And it's interesting, since my goal this is to run a great event and raise as much money as possible. I really think people are going to get their money's worth watching. I mean, if you look at this recruiting class, especially Missouri has a really good class this year, and then Illinois, Iowa, and Oklahoma in particular have great classes this year. I think if you just took, the kids from this meet, there's a very, very high likelihood you're going to see somebody's going to be a national champion come out of this meet.
You've been involved in the sport of wrestling. Is it fair to say your entire life?
Yeah, there's a video of my dad hitting a double leg on me when I was 2, and I didn't know how to lower my level. So yeah, probably.
At 2, there's not a whole lot of lowering of the level, is there really?
It's pretty impressive he got in that low.
Your dad's a pretty flexible dude, man.
All those black belts, he knows how to contort himself in the correct way.
I think he's got 8 of them, doesn't he?
He does. He has 4 8th-degree black belts, which is actually a red belt.
So he has 4 8th-degree black belts, which is a red belt, and the belt system, of course, something we're starting to see being employed in wrestling as well, which I like. You may be the best, but how good are you at being the best? Well, one of the ways we can do it is by showcasing kids at events just like this. Missouri Border Brawl is coming up, and it will take place in St. Louis, Missouri, the same week of the NCAAs. So if you want an excuse, God knows we all need excuses, to come in a day early, get yourself acquainted with the city, wait for the balance of the fans to show up, where wrestling action starts Thursday. The NCAA is this week. We have events going on throughout the week, this being one of them, and it takes place on Tuesday. How did you select Tuesday?
I didn't. It was really the 8 days of wrestling was selected for me, but it worked out good because that's when most of the Division I teams come in. So a lot of these coaches will be there, and we've got some seating set up for them where they can watch their recruits wrestle. Like Mizzou has, I think, 2 or 3 kids in this thing. West Virginia with Sammy and Nick and Dom, they had a really good recruiting class. They've got 2 or 3 guys who would be in this thing as well. So, and then you got Oklahoma University, Iowa State, and really, guys, it's kind of the who's who, Minnesota. So I think in the University of Iowa, Northern Iowa, a lot of the guys have been recruited by big-time top 10 programs, Ohio State with Keyshawn. So, those coaches will be there. Cliff Keen's, the shirt I'm wearing is from Cliff Keen, and they've been a great sponsor. So the singlets and everything else, the kids are going to get some great gear, look amazing, and really a patriotic theme. These soldiers that come back, they're the real heroes. And so, what we can do to make their lives a little better when they come back is really the goal.
Yeah, the shirts, by the way, are sharp, so make sure you save me a double, will you?
I will, sir.
Folks, you can find out more about what we're talking about online at moborderbrawl.com. That's MO for Missouri, moborderbrawl.com, or you can look for them on Facebook as well. They are on Facebook. Save the date, March 17th, Missouri versus the best bordering states that surround the great state of Missouri. And is it any coincidence right now the University of Missouri is number 3 in the rankings?
I don't know if it's a coincidence. I talked to Brian the other day, and he's just done an amazing job there. That program. With no disrespect to anybody who was there but they just, to be in the top 3, to be undefeated, to have a chance to win the national title, both in the tournament and the national rules. And right now, the 3 highest ranked guys are all Missouri kids, which is awesome.
Isn't that something, though? They are just outstanding young men, but boy, are they wrestling really, really well. We had a big meet over the weekend that featured Iowa versus Minnesota for the number 1 spot, and Iowa took it on the road, and boy, did they start off with a bang. It was on the Big Ten Network Friday night, 6 o'clock. Great viewership on TV, sold out show at Williams Arena in Minnesota, but it really was a wrestling weekend, and the
Yep.
Tigers were in action as well. As a matter of fact, they have an absolutely tremendous meet on Friday themselves. I think it was Friday or Saturday, but it was victory over Northern Iowa. Matter of
Right.
fact, yeah, it was 33-6 over Northern Iowa. So I challenge you folks to look for better wrestling anywhere. I don't think you can find it. We're talking to David Mirikitani. He is the founder of the Missouri Border Brawl. It comes up on the 17th of March, so we're coming up on about a month and a half away. Is the event where you want it to be planning-wise and sales-wise, Dave? It sounds like you've got everything pretty well handled, with the exception of selling tickets and sponsorships.
I feel like we're that duck going across the pond where maybe it looks pretty smooth, but we're kicking like crazy underneath the water. So, we're still raising money. We're still gathering items for the silent auction. We're still working on the final logistics of it. Still, finalizing all the kids coming in. There's just 100 details, and if it wasn't for I have a lot of people helping me out with a lot of volunteers, and so
Well,
I feel confident it's going to look great when it's done. But it's I think where we need to be for 7 weeks out. We've having done the one a year and a half ago really helped. Sort of a timeline, knowing this is the stuff you need to worry about. This is the stuff that can kind of get done at the last minute.
David, we're looking forward to being there with you. If there's anything we haven't hit on in this initial interview, what would it be?
Well, I guess the main thing is that, if people want to buy tickets, it's cagetix.com//MBB, and they can go on and buy tickets there. We've sold them through the group high schools, all the seats from the back. So all the $10 and $15 tickets are gone. And we feel like we're going to make a major announcement this week on something else we're doing with the meet. And I think, you and I had spoke about maybe getting together in the next week or two. And that's going to be where we're going in one of a couple directions, but that's going to probably drive sales even further. And I just think, they're going to probably be, the best Division I coaches in the country they're watching. And I don't want to start naming them to exclude anybody, but if you're a fan, you're going to be probably sitting 15, 20 feet from these coaches as well as these athletes. And then there's a big after party in the Grand Hall at Union Station, kind of mixing and mingling. And it's probably the last night that those coaches will have any semblance of peace, because once Wednesday starts going, your stomach's in one big Gordian knot until Sunday.
Great analogy with the knot. Great analogy indeed. David Mirikitani, always good to talk to you. We'll do it again next week and update our fans on some of the big news that is yet to be told. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Our best to your mom and dad both. We're looking forward to seeing you on the 17th in Missouri at the Union Station for another great wrestling event. This one for charity, as we look to benefit the Extreme Couture GI Foundation and Beat the Streets LA, an outstanding organization out there in Los Angeles and across the country, as it continues to help kids get into the sport of wrestling and realize that they can even be better than they even thought they could through the sport.
Amazing work.
Thank
Ryan
you, David.
And Drew, these guys do amazing work.
They really do. Absolutely.
Yes,
And we're looking forward to being out them with the World Cup as well in April. David, good talking with you. We'll talk to you in a week or two.
Thanks so much, Scott. Have a great day.
For all of us at Takedown, I'm Scott Casper. He's David Mirikitani from the Missouri Border Brawl coming up. It's March 17th. Will you be there? Mark your schedule. Make plans now. Get your tickets. And go to website moborderbrawl.com. Also online at Facebook as well. And that's Missouri. Type it in, Missouri Border Brawl. It'll get you there. And we'll look forward to seeing you in St. Louis, Missouri.